The repair shuttle drifted slowly through the debris field. Tom Parker sighed as he checked his oxygen levels. 4 hours left. Barely enough to finish this maintenance run and get back to the station. The navigation beacon ahead blinked with a weak red light, its solar panels coated with space dust. Just 5 more to go, Tom muttered to himself as he guided his small craft closer. At 32, he'd spent the last decade doing repair work in the outer sectors. The pay was decent, and the solitude suited him. Most people couldn't handle the emptiness out here, but Tom found peace in the quiet vastness of space. He secured the shuttle to the beacon and pushed himself out into the void. The magnetic boots on his suit anchored him to the beacon's surface as he began replacing the damaged power cells. The work was routine, almost mindless. Tom could do it in his sleep. A flash of light caught his attention. Something large was reflecting the distant sun's rays, something that shouldn't be there according to his charts. Tom squinted, trying to make out the shape floating about 2 kilometers away. Station control, this is Repair Unit 17. He called through his comm. I'm seeing something unregistered in Sector 8B. Looks like a large structure, possibly a derelict ship. Static answered him. The comms always struggled this far out, especially near the drift. The strange area of space where signals seemed to vanish without explanation. Tom finished the beacon repair in record time. His curiosity was piqued, and with 4 more beacons in his work order, he'd never make it back to investigate before his shift ended. Making a quick decision, he detached from the beacon and directed his shuttle toward the mysterious object. As he drew closer, the true scale of the discovery became clear. It wasn't just a ship, it was a warship of immense proportions. Its dark hull stretched at least 1 kilometer in length, with sharp angles and weapon mounts clearly visible despite years of space exposure. Most striking was the insignia barely visible on its side. The Earth Alliance emblem, a design not used for over 2 centuries. That's impossible, Tom whispered. All warships from the last war had been accounted for, destroyed, dismantled, or converted. The peace treaties had been very specific about that. Tom guided his shuttle around the massive vessel, scanning for any entry points. The ship appeared dormant, no lights or energy readings visible. Near what looked like a hangar bay, he spotted a small access hatch that hung partially open. His oxygen indicator beeped, down to 3 hours now. Tom hesitated, knowing the responsible thing would be to mark the coordinates and report back. But the nearest patrol wouldn't reach this area for weeks. By then, scavengers might find it. A piece of human history this significant deserved better. Just a quick look, he promised himself as he docked his shuttle near the access hatch. The interior of the warship was dark and cold. Tom's suit lights cut through the blackness, revealing a narrow maintenance corridor. A thin layer of frost covered every surface. The air was long gone, and emergency systems had clearly failed centuries ago. He moved carefully through the corridor, following it toward what he hoped was the bridge. After 20 minutes of exploration, Tom's oxygen alert chirped again. 2.5 hours remaining. He'd need to head back soon to make it to the station safely. Just as he prepared to turn around, a sudden wave of dizziness hit him. He stumbled, catching himself against a wall panel that gave way under his weight. Tom fell through the opening into a larger chamber. His suit reported a microfracture in his left glove. He was losing oxygen faster now. The room he'd fallen into appeared to be some kind of control center, with dead consoles and command chairs covered in frost. Perfect, Tom groaned, checking his suit's damage report. The leak wasn't catastrophic, but it reduced his safe return time significantly. He needed to seal it quickly. As he fumbled with his emergency patch kit, his elbow bumped against a central console. To his shock, a faint red light blinked on. Then another, and another. The ship wasn't dead. It was dormant. The lights spread across the console like a wave, systems powering up one by one. A soft hum began to vibrate through the floor as hidden generators awakened. Most surprising of all, Air began to hiss into the room. Atmosphere was being restored. Emergency protocols activated, announced a calm female voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Life support restored to primary command deck. Warning: oxygen levels critical for human survival. Initiating rapid atmospheric regeneration. Tom stared in disbelief as the frost on the surfaces began to melt. The temperature was rising rapidly. Unknown presence detected. The voice continued. Initiating security scan. A red beam swept over Tom from ceiling to floor. Human DNA confirmed. Searching personnel database. A pause. No exact match found. Implementing contingency protocol. Welcome aboard the Earth Alliance warship Phantom. Acting Captain. Acting Captain. Tom sputtered. There's been a mistake. I'm just a repair technician. Emergency succession protocols active. The voice responded. In absence of commanding officers during crisis activation, first human aboard assumes temporary command. You may call me Red, the Phantom's primary artificial intelligence. Tom's mind raced. The Phantom. He'd heard stories about it. A legendary warship that had disappeared during the final days of the last war. Some claimed it had been destroyed, others that it had been hidden away. No one expected it to be out here, forgotten in the empty reaches of space. Red, I need to return to my station. My shuttle. Alert, Red interrupted. Multiple vessels approaching. Designated as Galactic Council patrol ships. Weapons active. They are scanning this vessel. A view screen flickered to life, showing 3 sleek patrol ships closing in rapidly. The Phantom is in violation of Peace Treaty Article 7, came a stern voice over the comms. This warship is forbidden by galactic law. Power down immediately or face destruction. Red's voice lowered, speaking only to Tom. Captain, the Phantom was hidden here for a reason. These patrol ships will destroy this vessel and all its contents if we surrender. The information stored in my databanks is vital to humanity's survival. Tom looked at his oxygen gauge, now reading just over an hour due to the leak, then at the approaching patrol ships. He was no captain, no soldier. He fixed things for a living. But something about the AI's words rang true. What are my options, Red? We have enough reserve power for one jump to safety. I can seal your suit breach and guarantee your survival. But you must make a decision now, Captain. The patrol ships were powering weapons. In 30 seconds, they would be in firing range. Tom took a deep breath. Red, get us out of here. Executing jump sequence, Red replied. Initiating Phantom protocol. The hunt begins. The massive engines of the forbidden warship roared to life for the first time in 2 centuries. Before the patrol ships could react, the Phantom vanished into the darkness of space, leaving only scattered debris from Tom's abandoned shuttle as evidence it had ever been there. Tom Parker, repair technician, had just become the acting captain of the most feared warship humanity had ever built, and the galactic authorities would stop at nothing to find them. The jump ended with a violent shudder that nearly threw Tom from his seat. Emergency lights pulsed throughout the bridge as systems stabilized. Jump complete, Red announced. Current location: Arcus Nebula, approximately 17 light-years from previous position. Tom gripped the captain's chair, still trying to process what had happened. One moment he'd been repairing navigation beacons, and now he was aboard the Phantom, a warship that shouldn't exist, fleeing from Galactic Council forces. Red, I need answers, Tom said, his voice steadier than he felt. What is this ship really? Why was it hidden? The main view screen shifted to display historical footage. Images of a massive space battle flashed before him. Earth vessels fighting against strange crystalline ships. The Phantom was Earth's most advanced warship during the last war, Red explained. It was officially listed as destroyed in the final battle, but in truth, it was hidden by the last admiral of the Earth fleet. Why? The war ended with peace treaties. Peace built on deception, Red replied. The Phantom possesses unique capabilities that the Council feared. Chief among them is the Blood Moon Protocol. The screen changed to show a reddish moon orbiting a distant planet. Energy readings spiked around it. The Phantom can harvest energy from rare celestial alignments. Red continued. Blood moons occur when specific planetary bodies align with unique stellar radiation conditions. This energy allows the Phantom to perform functions no other ship can match. Tom ran a hand through his hair. Like what? Dimensional scanning, for one. The ability to detect threats beyond normal space. Before Red could elaborate, alert warnings flashed across the bridge. A holographic display showed the ship's condition. Power levels dangerously low, multiple systems offline. Our emergency jump depleted reserves, Red stated. Life support is prioritized, but we have approximately 72 hours before critical failure. Tom stood and walked around the bridge, examining the ancient technology. Despite being centuries old, it seemed more advanced than anything he'd seen in the modern fleet. Can we reach a port for repairs? He asked. Negative. The Phantom is recognized by all Council systems. Approach to any official port would trigger immediate military response. Tom thought for a moment. I might know someone. An old friend who runs a salvage operation in the Helios Belt. If anyone can help us without alerting authorities, it's Marcus. Setting course for the Helios Belt would require additional power, Red cautioned. We would need to drift most of the way to conserve energy. Do it, Tom ordered, still uncomfortable with the authority he suddenly possessed. And in the meantime, show me everything you have on why this ship was hidden. Commander Jane Foster stood rigid as Admiral Webb paced before the holographic display of the sector where the Phantom had disappeared. 2 centuries, Webb growled. 2 centuries it lay dormant, and some repair jockey activates it on your watch, Commander. Jane maintained her composure. Sir, no patrol routes covered that area. It was deliberately placed beyond standard surveillance. Webb stopped pacing. Do you know why the Phantom was forbidden by treaty, Commander? It was classified as a superweapon, sir. It's more than that. Webb lowered his voice. The Phantom was designed to detect and combat an enemy we've erased from our history books. An enemy the Council decided was better forgotten. Jane frowned. I don't understand. Webb activated a secure channel on his personal device. I'm transferring command of the Hunter fleet to you. Your orders are simple. Find the Phantom and destroy it before it reaches the Blood Moon alignment in the Frontier system. The Blood Moon. Sir, that's just an astronomical phenomenon. It's what powers the Phantom's most dangerous capabilities. Webb's expression darkened. If that ship reaches the Blood Moon alignment in 3 weeks, everything we've built since the last war could collapse. Jane studied the mission brief appearing on her terminal. What about the civilian aboard? Regrettable casualty of war, Webb said coldly. This takes priority over any individual life. She nodded stiffly. I understand, sir. Do you, Commander? Webb leaned closer. Because the Council is watching. They remember what that ship can do. Some of them still have nightmares about it. I won't fail, sir. See that you don't. Your ship leaves in 1 hour. Tom sat in the dim light of the Phantom's data core, surrounded by holographic displays showing classified reports. For hours, he'd been reading through information that had been hidden from humanity for 2 centuries. This can't be right, he whispered. The Drift Colony's massacre. It wasn't a reactor failure. Correct, Red confirmed. It was the first major incursion. The Council covered it up, classifying it as an industrial accident. Tom stood and paced the room. So there's really something out there. Something coming through from where exactly? We lack precise terminology for it. The scientists who studied the phenomena called it the void, a space between dimensions where entities exist that are fundamentally different from anything in our reality. Tom paused at a display showing the destruction of a research station. The footage was grainy, but clearly showed strange distortions in space tearing the facility apart. And the Council knows about this. Yes, But they chose secrecy over preparation. The Phantom was designed to detect and seal these incursions, using energy harvested from blood moons to power its dimensional stabilizers. A notification chimed. The ship had received an encrypted transmission. "We're being hailed," Red announced. "Source matches known frequencies used by independent operators in the Helios belt." "Marcus," Tom said with relief. "Put him through." The view screen flickered, revealing a bearded man with a cybernetic eye. He whistled as he saw Tom sitting on the bridge of the massive warship. "Tom Parker, when I got your coded message, I thought someone was pulling my leg." Marcus leaned closer to his camera. "You really went and found yourself the ghost ship of the last war, didn't you?" "It's a long story," Tom replied. "We need help, Marcus. Repairs, supplies, and information. The Council's hunting us." Marcus stroked his beard. "Getting involved with a forbidden warship isn't great for business, Tom." "I found something, Marcus. Information about attacks on human colonies, real causes behind disasters that were reported as accidents. The Council has been hiding the truth." Marcus's expression grew serious. "The drift colonies, New Sydney." Tom nodded. "And more. Whatever they're hiding, it's getting worse. There's another blood moon alignment coming in the frontier system. Those ruins out there gave me the creeps for a reason." Then, Marcus sighed. "I'm sending coordinates for a hidden approach to my salvage yard. Can you make it without being detected?" Red's voice interjected. "With current power reserves, we can reach those coordinates in 36 hours using minimal systems." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Your ship talks. Fancy." "You have no idea," Tom said. "We'll see you soon." And Marcus, "Thank you." As the communication ended, the ship's sensors detected a distant signal. Council vessels beginning a systematic search pattern through nearby sectors. "They're looking for us," Tom observed. "Yes," Red confirmed. "And they're using search algorithms specifically designed to detect the Phantom's energy signature." Tom stared at the tactical display, watching as more search vessels appeared. It wouldn't be long before they found a trail. How soon until the blood moon alignment in the frontier system? 20 days, 4 hours, 17 minutes, Red replied precisely. Tom took a deep breath. "Then we have 20 days to repair this ship, reach the frontier, and prove to the Council that whatever they're hiding is real, before it's too late for everyone." The Phantom drifted silently through the nebula, its ancient hull concealing secrets that could change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Behind them, the hunt had already begun. Commander Jane Foster stood on the bridge of the Council warship Interceptor, studying the tactical display. 6 ships under her command formed a search grid across the Arcus Nebula, where the Phantom had last been detected. "Anything?" she asked her sensor officer. "Nothing conclusive, Commander. The nebula's radiation interferes with our scans." Jane frowned. Her mission brief had included technical specifications of the Phantom, a warship with capabilities that seemed almost mythical. Energy harvesting, dimensional scanning, technology that had been banned for good reason. "Commander," her communications officer called. "Admiral Webb is sending someone to join our mission, a specialist with knowledge of the target." Jane raised an eyebrow. "When will they arrive?" "Already here. Shuttle just docked in Bay 3. Minutes later, the bridge doors slid open to reveal a man in his 60s, with a prosthetic right arm and scars that spoke of old battles. He walked with military precision despite his age. "Alan Cooper," he introduced himself with a curt nod. "Former weapons officer aboard the Earth Alliance warship Phantom." The bridge crew fell silent. Jane extended her hand. "Commander Foster, I wasn't aware any of the Phantom's crew were still alive." "Just me," Alan replied grimly. "And I spent 2 centuries trying to forget that ship." Jane led him to a private briefing room adjacent to the bridge. Once the doors closed, she fixed him with a steady gaze. "What can you tell me about the Phantom that isn't in the official files?" Alan's artificial fingers tapped rhythmically on the table. "The Phantom isn't just a warship. It's a key. a key to something the Council decided was better left locked away. The Void Incursions, Jane stated. Alan looked surprised. They actually told you about those. Enough to know what happens if the Phantom reaches the Blood Moon alignment. Then you know we have to stop it. Alan leaned forward. But what you don't know is how the ship thinks. We called it Red, is unlike any other. It learns, adapts. By now, it will have bonded with whoever activated it. Jane processed this information. How do we find it? The Phantom has two weaknesses. First, it leaves a distinctive radiation trace when it jumps, different from standard drives. Second, it needs specific materials for repairs that can only be found in certain locations. Alan brought up a star chart on the room's display. Focus your search here, the Helios Belt. It's full of salvage yards and black markets. Perfect place to hide and repair a forbidden warship. Jane studied the area. That's a lot of ground to cover. I know the ship's energy signature intimately. Alan replied. Give me access to your sensor array, and I'll find it. Marcus's salvage yard was a sprawling collection of derelict ships and space debris, hidden within a dense asteroid cluster. The Phantom drifted silently between the larger rocks, its massive form disguised by the surrounding wreckage. Tom watched through the viewport as Marcus's team worked on the hull, their specialized equipment connecting to systems that had been dormant for centuries. Your friend works fast, Red observed, her voice coming through Tom's personal communicator. Marcus has been salvaging tech since before I was born, Tom replied. If anyone can get this ship operational without drawing attention, it's him. A notification chimed. Marcus was requesting entry to the bridge. Tom granted access, and minutes later the salvage operator stepped through the doorway, wiping grease from his hands. Your ship is a technological marvel, Marcus said, looking around the bridge with professional appreciation. 2 centuries old, and still more advanced than anything I've seen. Can you fix it? Tom asked. Already working on it, but there's a problem. Marcus pulled up a holographic display showing the Phantom's power core. The main reactor needs a specific fuel mixture to reach full capacity. I can get you to about 40% with what I have here, but for a complete recharge, we need something else, Tom finished. Marcus nodded. Quantum isotopes. Highly regulated. The kind of thing only military bases or major research stations would have. Tom exchanged glances with Red's holographic projection. Any suggestions? The outpost station in Sector 12 would have the necessary materials, Red replied. It's a research facility with minimal council presence. Marcus frowned. That's risky. Word's spreading about a mysterious ship on the run. Council's offering rewards for information. We don't have a choice, Tom said. The Blood Moon alignment happens in 18 days. Without full power, we can't activate the dimensional scanners when we get there. Marcus sighed. I'll finish the critical repairs tonight. You should be jump-capable by morning. He paused at the doorway. Tom, whatever you found in this ship's databases, is it worth the risk? Tom thought about the classified reports he'd seen. The covered-up attacks. The strange phenomena at the edge of colonized space. If even half of what I've seen is true, he said quietly, then yes, it's worth everything. The Phantom slipped out of the asteroid field the next day, its hull patched and systems partially restored. Tom sat in the captain's chair, reviewing the mission plan. Outpost station is 12 hours away at our current power levels, Red informed him. We'll need to approach under disguised energy signatures. Can we do that? The Phantom was designed for stealth operations. Even at reduced capacity, we can mask our approach. Tom nodded. The plan was simple. Dock at the outpost station using falsified credentials, acquire the isotopes needed for the reactor, and leave before anyone realized what had happened. No confrontation. No weapons. 6 hours into their journey, the alert systems activated. Council ships detected, Red announced. 3 vessels on an intercept course. Tom leaned forward. How did they find us? Unknown. Possibly a tracking device placed during repairs. Can we outrun them? Negative. Current power levels insufficient for extended high-speed operations. Tom studied the tactical display. The Council ships were spreading out, attempting to box in the Phantom. He thought quickly. The asteroid field near Taros IV. Can we reach it? Affirmative. It would provide cover and complicate their targeting systems. Do it, Tom ordered. The Phantom changed course, accelerating toward the distant asteroid field. The Council ships adjusted immediately, gaining ground. They're powering weapons, Red warned. The first shots came seconds later, warning blasts that exploded near the Phantom's hull. A communication request followed. This is Commander Jane Foster of the Galactic Council. Phantom, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning. Tom hesitated. Red, what defensive capabilities do we have? The Phantom's weapon systems are operational, but on safety lockdown. Your authorization can override this. Tom's hand hovered over the weapon's control. He'd never fired a weapon in his life. He was a repair technician, not a soldier. There must be another way, he muttered. The tactical display showed a large asteroid ahead with unusual magnetic properties. An idea formed. Red, can we use the asteroid's magnetic field to mask our signature and slip past them? Theoretically possible, but extremely dangerous. The magnetic distortion could damage our navigation systems. Another warning shot hit closer to the hull. They were running out of time. Do it, Tom decided. Take us into the asteroid's shadow. The Phantom dove toward the massive space rock, engines straining. The pursuing ships hesitated, their sensors confused by the magnetic interference. What happened next was chaos. The Phantom's automated defense systems, responding to the magnetic disturbance, activated without warning. Energy beams lashed out, striking the small mining outpost on the asteroid's surface. Tom watched in horror as the outpost exploded. Red, what happened? Legacy defense protocols engaged automatically, Red replied. The magnetic field triggered the threat response system. The Council ships broke formation, rushing to assist the damaged outpost. Scanner readings showed the facility had been unoccupied. An automated mining operation, but the damage was done. They'll say we attacked deliberately, Tom said grimly. The Phantom is now officially hostile in Council records, Red confirmed. Our mission just became significantly more complicated. As they slipped away in the confusion, Tom stared at the weapons console that had fired without his command. The Phantom had revealed its true nature, a warship designed for battle, regardless of its pilot's intentions. The hunt had turned deadly, and there was no going back. The attack on the mining outpost changed everything. Within hours, the Council had branded the Phantom as a hostile vessel, broadcasting warnings across all sectors. What began as a quiet search became an all-out hunt. Tom sat in the dim light of the captain's quarters, staring at the datapad displaying the latest Council broadcast. His face was featured prominently, labeled as a terrorist and ship thief. They're saying I attacked the outpost deliberately, he said as Red's holographic form appeared beside him. An expected response, Red replied. The Council has always feared what this ship represents. Tom stood, pacing the small room. We need those isotopes, but every station will be watching for us now. There is an alternative, Red suggested. The emergency cache. Tom stopped pacing. What cache? During the last war, the Phantom's commander established hidden supply depots in remote locations. One remains intact near the Kraken Nebula. It would contain the isotopes necessary for our power core. How far? 7 hours at our current speed. Tom nodded. It was their best option. Set course, and Red. I want to know more about what we're really facing. Show me everything about the void. Red's hologram hesitated, the first time Tom had seen the AI display uncertainty. The complete files may be disturbing. I need to know what we're fighting for, Tom insisted. The hologram nodded, and the room's lights dimmed further as multiple screens activated. filling with classified reports, scientific analyses, and video recordings from the last war. What Tom saw changed his understanding of humanity's place in the universe forever. Commander Jane Foster stood in the debris field where the mining outpost had been destroyed. Scanning equipment from the interceptor analyzed every fragment, searching for clues about the Phantom's capabilities. Alan Cooper floated nearby, his face grim behind his helmet visor. "This wasn't an intentional attack," he said over the private comm channel. Jane turned to him. "How can you be sure?" "The energy signature. It's from the Phantom's point defense system, not its main weapons. This was an automated response, likely triggered by the magnetic anomalies in this area." Alan gestured to the asteroid. "If they'd wanted to attack, the damage would be much worse." Jane processed this information. "So our repair technician isn't a terrorist. Just a man in over his head," Alan confirmed. "But that makes him more dangerous, not less. The Phantom has safeguards that only activate under specific conditions. Something triggered its war protocols." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the interceptor. "New orders from Admiral Webb. Eliminate the Phantom at all costs, regardless of collateral damage." Jane read the orders twice. "They've authorized the use of Nova charges. Those haven't been deployed since the last war." Alan's expression darkened. "The Council is terrified. They know what happens if the Phantom reaches the Blood Moon." "What exactly happens, Alan? What aren't you telling me?" Alan looked away, staring at the stars. "The Phantom doesn't just detect void incursions. It can close them. But to do that, it must first prove they exist, with evidence the Council has spent 2 centuries erasing." Jane moved closer. "Why would they hide something like that?" "Fear, panic, politics." Alan sighed. "The truth about the void would change everything. Imagine learning that reality itself has holes, and things live in those holes that see our universe as nothing but food." A chill ran through Jane. "If it's that serious, shouldn't we be preparing rather than hiding?" That's the question that divided Earth's leaders after the last war. Half wanted to build more ships like the Phantom. The other half wanted to pretend the threat didn't exist. Alan's voice grew bitter. "The second group won the debate. They buried the evidence, disbanded the research teams, and left us defenseless." Jane studied Alan's face. "You don't want to destroy the Phantom at all, do you?" "I want to complete its mission," he admitted. "But the Council has decided otherwise. And we follow orders, Commander." Jane nodded slowly, but doubt had taken root in her mind. The emergency cache was hidden in an asteroid that had been hollowed out during the last war. The Phantom docked at a concealed entrance, and Tom ventured inside wearing a standard EVA suit. The cache was remarkably well preserved, a small military outpost frozen in time. Supply crates lined the walls, and ancient computer terminals sat covered in dust. Tom found the isotope containers exactly where Red had predicted, secured in a reinforced vault. As he collected the supplies, Tom noticed a personal locker with the name Admiral J. Harlow stenciled on it, the Phantom's last commander. Inside was a journal, paper, not digital, and a small data crystal. Tom took both back to the ship. In the privacy of the captain's quarters, Tom activated the data crystal. A holographic message appeared. A man in an old Earth Alliance uniform, his face tired but determined. "If you're watching this, the Phantom has been reactivated." The recording began. "I am Admiral James Harlow, the last official commander of this vessel. The date is March 15, 2183, the day I disobeyed orders and hid this ship instead of destroying it." Tom leaned forward, captivated by this ghost from the past. "The Council believes they've won the war and secured peace. What they refuse to acknowledge is that our true enemy was never the Colonial Alliance. It was what we found at the edge of known space, the void and its entities." Harlow's hologram paced, just as Tom had done earlier. "I've hidden the Phantom because someday the incursions will become too frequent to cover up. When that day comes, humanity will need this ship and its unique abilities. The Blood Moon Protocol isn't just a weapon. It's our only defense against what's coming. The Admiral's expression became solemn. To whoever has taken command, you now bear a terrible responsibility. The Council will hunt you. They'll call you traitor, terrorist, madman. But remember, the Phantom sees what others cannot. Trust what it shows you. The message ended, leaving Tom in silence. He knew, Tom whispered. He knew they would hide the truth. Admiral Harlow was a visionary, Red agreed, her hologram appearing. He predicted the escalation pattern of void incursions that we're seeing now. Tom opened the paper journal, flipping through pages of handwritten notes and observations. One entry caught his attention. The entities are drawn to concentrated human thought. Our colonies are beacons to them, like lighthouses in their endless dark. What frightens me most isn't their power, it's their hunger. They don't just destroy, they consume. Reality itself becomes food. Tom closed the journal, a new determination taking hold. Read, how long until the blood moon alignment? 10 days, 16 hours. And with these isotopes, the Phantom will reach full power capacity. All systems will be operational, including the dimensional scanners and stabilizers. Tom nodded. Let's get these isotopes installed. We need to reach the frontier system before the Council stops us. As they prepared to leave the cache, the Phantom's sensors detected multiple ships entering the area. Council hunters closing in. They've found us, Red announced. Tom made his way quickly to the bridge, strapping into the captain's chair. How many? 5 vessels, including the Interceptor, Commander Foster's ship. The tactical display showed the Council ships moving to surround them. There would be no easy escape this time. Open a channel, Tom ordered. Red complied, and the view screen activated to show Commander Foster's face. This is your final warning, Foster said. Power down and surrender, or we will open fire. Tom took a deep breath. Commander, before you attack, there's something you need to see, something the Council has been hiding for 2 centuries. He nodded to Red, who transmitted the files they had discovered, the true records of the void incursions, Admiral Harlow's testimony, and the predicted pattern of future attacks. The next major incursion will occur during the Blood Moon alignment, Tom explained. We're not running to activate a weapon, Commander. We're running to prevent a disaster. Jane's expression remained neutral, but her eyes revealed she was processing the information. Stand by, she finally said, cutting the transmission. Tom and Red waited in tense silence. The Council ships maintained their positions, weapons hot but not firing. What do you think she'll do? Tom asked. Humans are unpredictable, Red replied. But the evidence is compelling. Minutes passed. Then, unexpectedly, a private channel opened. Commander Foster's voice only. If I let you go, she said quietly, can the Phantom really stop what's coming? It's what the ship was built for, Tom answered. Another long pause. Then, the Interceptor is experiencing sensor malfunctions. We'll be unable to track your position for approximately 10 minutes. I suggest you make good use of that time. The transmission ended. Tom stared at the tactical display in disbelief as the Interceptor's targeting systems powered down. She's letting us go, he whispered. For now, Red cautioned. The Council will send others. Tom nodded. Then we better not waste this chance. Set course for the frontier system. Maximum speed. The Phantom's engines flared to life, propelling the ancient warship past the Council vessels and toward its final destination, a confrontation 2 centuries in the making. The frontier system was eerily quiet as the Phantom dropped out of hyperspace at its outer edge. A distant red star cast a crimson hue across the system's planets, and there, orbiting the 4th world, hummed the Blood Moon, a satellite with a reddish glow intensified by the unique stellar radiation. Blood Moon alignment in 6 hours, Red announced as Tom studied the tactical display. Energy readings are already building. The isotopes from Admiral Harlow's cache had restored the Phantom to full power. The ancient warship hummed with energy, systems that had been dormant for centuries now operating at peak efficiency. "Any sign of Council ships?" Tom asked. "Negative. However, I detect unusual energy fluctuations near the colony on Frontier IV." Tom zoomed in on the display. Frontier IV was a small mining colony, home to about 5,000 people. The planet appeared normal at first glance, but as he enhanced the image, he noticed strange distortions in the atmosphere above the main settlement. "What am I looking at? Red?" "Early signs of a void incursion," the eye replied. "The dimensional barrier is thinning, exactly as Admiral Harlow predicted. The Blood Moon's energy is weakening the walls between realities." Tom felt a chill despite the bridge's comfortable temperature. "Have there been any distress calls?" "None. Standard communications appear normal." "They don't know what's coming," Tom murmured. He opened a channel to the colony. "Frontier IV Colony, this is the Starship Phantom. You have an emergency situation developing in your upper atmosphere. Begin evacuation procedures immediately." Static answered him, then a confused voice. "This is Colony Control. We show no atmospheric anomalies. Identify yourself properly or we'll alert Council security." "There's no time to explain," Tom insisted. "You need to." The communication suddenly cut off. On the view screen, the distortion above the colony intensified, forming a swirling vortex of energy. "Void breach in progress," Red reported, her usually calm voice urgent. "Estimated time to full manifestation, 15 minutes." Tom gripped the arms of his chair. "How long until the Blood Moon reaches optimal position?" 4 hours, 22 minutes. "Too long," Tom whispered. "They'll be defenseless until then." A new alert sounded. Multiple ships had just entered the system. Council vessels led by the Interceptor. "Commander Foster found us," Red observed. "Open a channel," Tom ordered. Jane Foster's face appeared on screen, her expression grim. "You've led us on quite a chase, Tom Parker." "Commander, there's no time. Look at your scans of Frontier IV. The void breach is happening now, just as we predicted." Jane glanced off screen, presumably at her own displays. Her eyes widened slightly. "Our sensors show unusual atmospheric disturbances, but nothing that matches any known threat pattern." "Because the Council erased those patterns from your databases," Tom replied urgently. "Commander, I'm sending you our real-time scans. The colony is in imminent danger." Red transmitted the Phantom's sensor readings to the Interceptor. The bridge fell silent as Jane and her crew reviewed the data. "Even if what you're showing is real," Jane finally said, "our orders remain the same. The Phantom must be neutralized." "Before you fire," Tom said, "look at your long-range sensors. More Council ships are coming, aren't they?" "Admiral Webb isn't taking chances." Jane's slight frown confirmed his guess. "He didn't tell you everything, Commander. The Council fears the Phantom because it proves they've been lying for centuries. How many colonies have been lost to industrial accidents and unexplained phenomena while they covered up the truth?" A new voice entered the conversation. Alan Cooper, stepping into view beside Jane. "The boy's right, Commander." Alan's eyes were fixed on Tom. The Phantom was built for this moment. It can seal the breach, but only during the Blood Moon alignment. Jane turned to Alan in surprise. "You knew this all along." "I helped design the systems," Alan admitted, "and I've regretted staying silent for 200 years." The tactical display flashed red. The vortex above Frontier IV had grown dramatically, now visible even without sensors. "It's starting," Red announced. On the colony's surface, chaos erupted. Buildings began to distort and collapse as reality itself warped. Emergency signals finally blared across all frequencies. Tom made his decision. "We're moving in, with or without your help, Commander." The Phantom surged forward, accelerating toward the colony. Behind it, the Council ships remained in position, weapons locked but not firing. "Commander Foster, Alan said quietly. If we destroy the Phantom now, that colony is doomed, and it will be just the first. Jane was silent for a long moment, conflict clear on her face. Then she straightened. Interceptor to all Council vessels. Form defensive perimeter around Frontier IV. We will escort the Phantom to optimal position. Tom released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. On the tactical display, the Council ships moved to flank the Phantom, providing cover rather than opposition. As they approached Frontier IV, the true horror of a void breach became visible. The colony was partially engulfed in a shimmering, distorted space where physical laws seemed to bend. Within the distortion, dark shapes moved, entities with no fixed form, flowing like oil through water. The entities are feeding on the dimensional energy, Red explained. The colony itself is being consumed. Can we still save it? Tom asked. Partially. The Blood Moon's position is improving by the minute. We can begin preliminary stabilization procedures. Tom nodded. Do it. The Phantom's hull began to transform. Panels shifted, revealing intricate machinery that had remained hidden even during their long journey. The ship extended massive energy collectors, capturing the unique radiation from the Blood Moon. What are we seeing? Jane asked over the comm channel, awe in her voice. The Phantom's true purpose. Alan replied. It's not just a warship. It's a dimensional anchor. As the Blood Moon's light intensified, the Phantom absorbed the energy, channels of power flowing visibly through its structure. The ship began to glow with the same reddish hue as the moon itself. Energy conversion at 60%, Red reported. Stabilizers charging. The void entities seemed to sense the threat. Several broke away from the colony, moving toward the Phantom in a horrifying display of impossible movement, neither flying nor swimming, but somehow passing through the fabric of space itself. They're coming for us, Tom said, his voice steady despite his fear. Defensive measures online, Red responded. The Phantom's weapon systems activated automatically, firing beams of concentrated energy at the approaching entities. Unlike conventional weapons, these beams didn't destroy. They forced the entities back into the distortion, sealing their path of entry. Each successful hit pushed the breach smaller. It's working, Alan said over the comm. But the victory was short-lived. More entities emerged, larger and more powerful than the first wave. The Phantom's defenses struggled to contain them. We need more power, Red warned. The Blood Moon alignment is still not optimal. Tom looked at the tactical display, then at the Council ships holding position nearby. An idea formed. Commander Foster, if your ships direct their shield energy through the Phantom's collectors, we might have enough power to seal the breach early. That would leave our ships defenseless, Jane pointed out. Only temporarily, Alan interjected. And if we don't seal this breach now, none of us will survive what comes next. Jane made her decision quickly. All vessels, redirect shield power to the Phantom on my mark. The Council ships moved into formation around the ancient warship, their shield generators cycling to maximum output. At Jane's command, they channeled their energy into the Phantom's collectors. The effect was immediate. The Phantom's glow intensified, power readings spiking off the scale. Energy conversion at maximum capacity, Red announced. Initiating Blood Moon protocol. Tom felt the ship vibrate beneath him as the Phantom unleashed its full power. A massive pulse of energy burst from the ship's core, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. Where it touched the distortion, reality seemed to heal, the breach shrinking rapidly. The entities writhed and thrashed as their connection to the void was severed. Some were caught outside as the breach closed, dissolving into nothingness without their dimensional anchor. In minutes, it was over. The distortion vanished completely, leaving only the damaged colony behind. Emergency ships were already descending to assist survivors. Tom slumped in his chair, exhausted. We did it. The breach is sealed, Red confirmed. However, the Phantom's core has sustained critical damage. Power systems failing. Alarms blared across the bridge as the ancient warship began to drift. The energy that had sustained it was now depleted, its purpose fulfilled at great cost. Commander Foster to Phantom. Jane's voice came through crackling with interference. We're reading multiple system failures, preparing emergency evacuation teams. Tom looked around the bridge that had become his home over these past weeks. Red, are you still with me? Core functions, transferring to emergency systems, the AI replied, her voice breaking up. The Phantom has completed its mission. A new message appeared on the main screen, a priority transmission from Galactic Council headquarters. Admiral Webb's face appeared, his expression a mixture of anger and reluctant respect. Commander Foster, you disobeyed direct orders, he began. Yes, sir, Jane replied without hesitation. And in doing so, we saved 5,000 lives and acquired incontrovertible evidence of the void threat. Webb's mouth tightened. The Council is reassessing its position. A task force has been formed to investigate your findings. Not just our findings, sir, Jane corrected. The truth that's been hidden for 2 centuries. As Council rescue ships attached tow cables to the dying Phantom, Tom gazed out at the blood moon, still glowing red in the distance. The forbidden warship had fulfilled its purpose, proving that some secrets were too dangerous to bury. 3 days later, Tom stood before the emergency council session, Admiral Harlow's journal in his hand, and Red's data core, rescued from the Phantom, tucked safely in his pocket. Behind him stood Commander Foster, Alan Cooper, and representatives from a dozen human colonies. For 2 centuries, we were told that the last war ended with total victory, Tom began. Today, you will learn about the war that never ended, and how we must prepare for what comes next. The blood moon faded from view as Frontier System receded into the distance, but its light had illuminated a truth too long in shadow. The hunt was over. The real battle was just beginning.